your father found out I was thugging? Do you believe me when I tell you you the one I'm loving? Are you mad cause I'm asking you 21 questions? Are you my soulmate? Cause if so, girl, you a blessing. Do you trust me enough to tell me your dreams? I'm staring at you trying to figure how you got in them jeans. If I was down, would you say things to make me smile? I treat you how you wanna be treated, just teach me how. If I was with some other chick and someone happened to see, and when you asked me about it, I said it wasn't me, would you believe me or up and leave me? How deep is our bond if that's all it takes for you to be gone? We only humans, girl, we make mistakes to make it up, I'll do whatever it takes. I love you like a fat kid love.
What's up, my people? How y'all doing on this beautiful Sunday evening? Exactly 8:10 p.m. on this beautiful summer Sunday evening. Welcome back to My Voice, Our Agenda. Want to give a big shout out to my God for waking me up this morning. No matter what I go through, the positive, the negative, I understand the blessings I receive from God. I understand how merciful He is. If you don't believe, trust me, when you go through your trials and tribulations, when you get that promotion, when good things happen, everything happens at the hands of God. Be grateful, be thankful for everything, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you at, it's Him. You know how people say, I'm Him, God is Him. So big thanks to God. Big thanks to God. Without Him, we're nothing. With Him, we're everything. Thank you. Okay, now, everybody's is fully aware of what's going on in America uh, with the situation, most notably, everybody's talking about it, the Nolan Xavier Wells case. Young black teenager went missing on a boating trip, went to an island with a few of his friends, and never returned. Or did he? I'll elaborate on that in a second. But this is my first video talking about it. This happened on 4th of July weekend. You know, with social media, you know, you can't believe everything, and, you know, everybody diving and jumping to conclusions and speculating, and, you know, this happened, that happened. You know, I wanted to wait a little bit longer for at least some facts come out, because, you know, I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to, you know, start speculating and giving out false information, because, you know, I would like to be authentic. And when I give out information on My Voice, Our Agenda, my platform, my podcast, I don't want to be like everybody else and, you know, start pointing fingers and, you know, carrying on. So I waited a week. You know, when we first heard of it, they didn't find his body. They ended up finding his body 2 days later. But it's so much information had transpired from that point, from that day. And you had a whole week to listen to different people talking about it on different social media platforms. And you don't know what to believe. Like, you really don't know what to believe, because everybody, you know, jumped to the race, uh, the speculation of being a racial attack because he was on a boat with 3 white boys, 3 of his friends that he's known for a long time. And they're the only ones that return back. So immediately, which I totally understand, you want to speculate, and there was foul play. Um, Initially, when I first heard the case, and I saw, you know, certain things that were going on, and I'll get into that, what made me believe that it was definitely foul play. despite what the sheriff said or the Coast Guard said after they recovered the body on July 6th. So much information has come on. His parents went on Good Morning America and other platforms. They obtained one of the most famous black attorneys of our time, Ben Crump, and his law firm had taken over. A lot of things has happened. L. Sharpton got involved, and and before I dive deep, I want to give a big shout out to my man, um, Tyler Perry, and other superstars that stepped up. And I think that's important that we acknowledge that. And you know, excuse me for a second. I'm trying to make sure uh, I'll get this. Yeah. So you had other stars that stepped up, and celebrities. You had uh, Colin Kaepernick, former 49ers quarterback, stepped in there. You had Spike Lee get involved. A lot of famous people got involved uh, to show their support. And most notably, Colin Kaepernick paid for the independent investigation for the autopsy for the body to be flown from Mississippi to New York. So I think that was very noble, and it was a beautiful thing for him to step in there. Tyler Perry, stepped in and monetarily gave a donation, and a lot of other celebrities, stepped in to show their support. So that was a beautiful thing. But the important thing is to try to find out what happened, right? We don't know exactly what happened. There's a lot of speculation on what happened. We know something went wrong. There's no doubt in my mind that there was foul play. And I don't want to get, all over the place. I wrote down some things that I felt that was very important for everybody to pay attention to, because these cases can be complicated, especially when it's a big cover up. And me personally, I think the sheriff's department knows better to go out and say there was no foul play. And it's kind of we expected that to happen. Being black in America, we expect things to happen like that. And I hate, like I said, I don't want to jump to conclusions, and it's just I have wrote down some key things that kind of opened my eyes, and I have to do it from my personal view, because that's what I'm comfortable with doing. But Nolan Wells was an athlete. Um, he was an honest student, and I think that was his last weekend of having fun. He was about to go to training camp to a D1 college that he was going to play football in. So he was training and stuff like that. So that was his last time to really have fun with his friends. And that's understandable. But based off of his parents, he was a well-rounded kid, respected by everybody. He cared about other people, and I think that's important. To understand what I'm about to say to you is very heartbreaking, because you have a friend, or you have friends that you go on an island on a boat. You can only get there by boat and get back by boat. There's no other way, right? And you expect to be safe. You're comfortable with your friends, but Something happened where supposedly, and this is why I'm doing that because now that time has passed, I really don't think that's what happened. But let's go with the initial story, or the initial story of him being left on the island, him being with a girl, and he told his buddies, "I'm going to stay here on the island." He didn't want to get on a boat. Well, the girl that he was talking to was he met that day, and I think that was a key information that he met her that day. They kicked it, whatever, but they said goodbye to each other. And the last thing she knows, and this is allegedly, this is her account of saying that she said he was headed back to the boat. That's the last she knew. Well, that was around 3 p.m., 4th of July, 3:30, around that time. It was around that. That was the last time he was seen on the island at 3 p.m. on the 4th of July. So they head back, according to the boys and everybody else, that he stayed on the island. Right away, after I found out about the phone, Nolan Wells' phone and his keys, immediately in my mind, it was foul play. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm not the only one that say that this is uh, it's a common thing as everybody's saying online, and even his parents and Ben Crump, the lawyer, said it, that what teenager you know, especially being on the island, it is not a livable island. It's not like it's homes on the island and stuff like that. It's just an island where they go and hang out on the weekends and holidays, whatever, and everybody have to leave that island. It's not a livable island. It's not no food and all that over there. It's not shelter. It's just some place where they hang out. So you're not going to leave your phone. No teenagers leave phone. That was the first red flag for me. The second was they couldn't find his body, right? Because after a while, the Coast Guard was called, the police were called, whatever. So this was on July 4th. I guess somehow on July 5th they go out, the Coast Guard goes out and they search the island, they search all around the island. Nolan Wells was nowhere to be found. That's on July 5th, right? A day after, on July 6th, they go out there again and they find his body. That was kind of another red flag for me. Because if you go out there the next day, his body wasn't there. What was the body at the whole time? He's Coast Guard. They're experienced. They got sonar things, everything. His body wasn't there on July 5th. But on July 6th, on a Monday, it popped up all of a sudden. That was a red flag for me. And I just have an issue with that. And, you know, so most parents, they have a tracker on their child's phone, their children's phone, their child's phone. They have a tracker because it's crazy out here. You want to make sure your kids are safe at all times. So you put a tracker on it. You find out where that child is at. So after a while, his mother was like, "Okay, I'm going to track his phone. See where he's at." She tracked his phone. It was on land. That was on July 4th in the evening. She found out the phone was on land. And she contacted her sister or somebody, which was Nolan Wells' aunt. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If somebody that was just another woman that she was close to. She contacted her. She told about it. They went to investigate it, you know, and they tracked the phone, and it was at one of the boys' house. One of the boys that was on that island with him that we went with, the phone was in his possession. Now here's another red flag for me. Your buddy is missing. He's on an island, according to you and your friends. You have his phone and didn't contact his parents. So you left the island, you went to the boat, you got on the boat and you went home. Hours and hours go by. You notify no one. His father, his mother, nobody in his family. You didn't notify that you had his phone. That's a red flag for me. And that's a problem for me. Now, they had to track the phone down. They go pick up the phone. The mom, the father, everybody is already finding that weird. The fact that he would never leave his phone, but he got the phone at their home. Another thing for me is his car keys. His keys, his home. I guess it had keys with his house keys, his home keys, his car keys. Everything was on that. They go looking for his keys. They find out it's at one of his other friends' house. They go to the house to get the keys, and the young man says he don't know where the keys is at. But they contact the girl, or she called them. I don't know how that went down. But the girl said, "Oh yeah, the keys are there. Tell him to go look on the Xbox or top of the Xbox. That's where Nolan keys are." Because the young boy was like, "I don't know where the keys are." But a young lady that was at the house, that left the house, know where the keys are. She know what Nolan keys look like, and she made it clear, no, 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 those keys are there. It's on top of the Xbox. So they go back and told the young man, well, somebody told us on the Xbox, he go get the keys and come back with the keys. He lied. That's another red flag. This is all to me. This is not speculation. These are facts, I'm telling you. These are facts. This will point to another red flag, and this is what point to me as being part of a foul play. Something happened based off of that. But I'm not done. I just want to be very precise on the information that I give because it's very important. Now, there's photo from day one all the way up until today. Him being on the boat with three white guys, with three white friends. You would think the way you hear social media going that he was the only black kid on the island. Let me clarify this. People, black kids have white kids have black friends. You know, and today's climate, there's a microscope on everything that goes on between black and white. So the temperature of racism and the racial tension is so high, and I can understand people's point of view on why this young black kid was on all these white people. Well, come to find out, on the island, he met up with a couple of his black friends. So there were black people on that island. He wasn't surrounded by the only black guy on the island. What is he doing? No, that wasn't the case. I want to clarify that. There was quite a few black other people on that island when he went. He may have went there with three white friends, but he wasn't around just white people. There was also black people on that island. So Nolan also hung out with black people. All his friends were not just white. So I just wanted to clarify that because people are pushing that wrong narrative and stop making false narratives about that's all he was around and that's all that was on the island was white people and how dare him, he know how white people are. Da, da, da. I think we need to clarify that. Is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's relevant to me because I'm quite sure he was young, but he was also wise. He was well rounded. So he had white friends, he had black friends. You know. Do you trust white people? You can't trust nobody. I don't care what color you are. You can't trust nobody. I'm gonna get on here and people gonna be upset with me, but I'm gonna keep a buck. Yes, the way the temperature is and racism and the racial tension that's going on. Yes, you have to be aware of the white people that you're around. White people, not all of them are bad, but you have to be wise on who you're around, especially white people. But you also got to be careful about being around your own people. You know what I'm saying? Because they just as trifling. Backstabbers, they'll murder you. They'll do the same thing. But the racial tension is high, and I understand the energy behind it. Don't get me wrong. I'm rocking with y'all. I'm not crossing over. I'm just saying I get it. I totally understand. I get it. So my next thing is the cleaning of the boat. The boat allegedly was being cleaned at 3 a.m. in the morning at the judge's house. The boat that was on that Nolan Wells and the three boys that were on, it was being cleaned. Now this is happening while Nolan is missing. So at 3 a.m., the boat was at the judge's house being cleaned. Now the boat belonged to someone else. The boat had belonged to someone else. The judge and the boys, they didn't own that boat. It belonged to someone else. That was a red flag. Why are you cleaning the boat? With what? What are you trying to get rid of DNA? You're trying to get rid of the DNA. He was on the boat anyway. So my only thing, you're getting rid of a crime scene. You're getting rid of a crime scene, and I think that's very important. Who cleans the boat at 3 a.m. in the morning while their friends are missing? That's a red flag for me. Now this one is tricky for me. And this is based off of new information. It haven't been confirmed, but a pool party that was going on at Evan's house, and it was Wyatt. It was some other friends that was there, and there was a photo that was posted up on social media with Nolan being there at this pool party on a 4th of July night. Now, mind you, remember I said they said he stayed. He didn't get on the boat. He stayed. The boys said he stayed at the island, and the last time they saw him was at 3 p.m. on 4th of July. The girl said, no, he didn't stay with me. He left me and said he was headed to the boat, and that's the direction he was going in. That's the last thing she saw. Now, this pool party happened on land at Evan's house. How important is that? This pool party happened on land at Evan's house. It was posted up on social media. This happened at 1 a.m. in the morning on July 5th. Now remember, when his mother and her friend tracked the phone, it pinged on land at someone's house. It pinged on land. So that phone was on land at the time. Now I want y'all to hear me out. I believe, I can be wrong. Nolan Wells got on that boat and he got back and went to that pool party. And at that pool party, something happened. This is what I believe. Something happened at that pool party and they killed that boy. They killed him. And this happened between, I think the photo was at 1 p.m., 1 a.m. in the morning. So it happened early morning on July 5th. Now, remember I said the boat was at the judge's house on at 3 a.m. being cleaned out. Something happened between 1 a.m. and 3 p.m. where they had to clean that boat. Now, was it 3 a.m.? Oh, no, I said 3 p.m., but 3 a.m. Was it 3 a.m. Monday Monday morning or 3 a.m. on Sunday morning? I think that's what we have to figure out because he was at that party, at that pool party. It was photos taken because that was from somebody else's phone. Now, when the mother and the aunt and the father got the phone back, they checked the phone and everything was deleted. It's social media, text messages, everything was deleted. Now they know their son. Now everything is coming together. There's a photo of him being at a pool party. The phone, they had to go ping it and do research and investigate to go get the phone that was at somebody else's house. Everything on the phone was deleted. They said they left him on the island at 3 p.m. The girls said no, he got on the boat. It's too many things going on. Too many things going on, and it raises a lot of questions. Here's my final analysis. The moment they had to go get the phone and the keys, none of them kids notified the police and told them that they had the phone and the key. That's evidence. Why aren't them three boys in jail? Why wasn't they arrested based off of that? They should have been arrested based off the fact that they were withholding evidence. That's evidence. That boy's missing. He ended up dead, but y'all got his property and not telling no one. They should have been locked up immediately. If they would have made bond, they would have made bond. But those sheriffs should have understood that that is a sign of foul play, as far as I'm concerned. Y'all want to leave a comment and tell me if I'm wrong, that's fine. But that's the analysis. That's my observation on the case. I waited for a week to try to figure things out. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I'm giving you facts. Okay? I'm giving you facts. If I missed something, this is not my last video on this case. I'm following it very closely, like y'all. Everybody's following it. It's a big case. It's very important that everybody on the same page. I wish people to restrain from speculating. Um, but even when I said there was foul play, something happened to him. That's not something had to happen to him. It's too much covering up going on. Even with the judges and all the boys, deleting their social media, it's kind of weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Um, Even when the judge came out, even before the body was found, and she made a social media post, or she said it somehow, the information came out, and they quoted her as saying, "Yeah, Nolan said he didn't want to, he wanted to stay on the island. He didn't want to get on the boat with the boat with the boys." I found that kind of weird for her to come out and say that, and then turn around and delete her social media. So it's a lot of things that's a red flag to me. It's a lot of things that we all need to be aware of and pay attention to. I'm quite sure as days go on, a lot more information is going to come out. So that's just my opinion on it. My voice out with gender. Y'all leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. Uh, and it's very unfortunate. Rest in peace to Nolan Xavier Wells. My condolences go out to him and his family. Um, you know, talk to your children. You know, you just never know what can happen. I'm quite sure nobody and Nolan's family had any idea that this would happen. And these are supposed to be his friends. He didn't meet them, yesterday, the day before. He knew them for years. So you think that your child is safe, despite the color, despite whatever. You would think your child is safe going out with friends. He didn't go out there with strangers. He went out there with familiar people, and that's the scary part about it for those of us that have children, have kids, grandkids, you know, whatever the case may be, we have to talk to our children. But even if you talk to them, in this particular situation, it's not the first time this happened, and it won't be the last. In this particular situation, what can you say? What can what could have said by Nolan's parents? He went out there with people that he know. You didn't think that anything would happen, especially in this fashion. The cover up, the lies, all the deceit, deception, all the way up to the sheriff's office. And, despite the history of Mississippi, this stuff shouldn't be happening in 2026. So knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we have to pay attention to our surroundings and understand that no matter what color you're around, you have to be wise and you have to be careful. And I don't think this young brother had a chance. And I don't want to speculate what they said happened at the pool party. It's various things that's being said, and I don't want to get into the details because to me that's not facts. Do I believe something happened at that pool party? Absolutely. Do I believe his body was brought from the land back into the water? Absolutely, because they didn't find his body on the 5th. The Coast Guard didn't find his body on the 5th, which is the day after supposedly they said that he never left the island. I believe he left the island. I believe he was at the pool party. And I believe they put his body back out there because they didn't see it on the 5th. The next day, on July 5th, they found it on the Monday. So it goes to say there was so much time for that to happen, to have his body put back over there, which would be a smart thing to do if you have a criminal mind. Because if you have the statement saying that he never left the island, he stayed with the girl, it would make sense for you to put the body back in that area. Because you can't say he never left, he stayed with the girl, he never left the island, he didn't want to get on the boat, but then they find his body at a pool. And he had a drowning accident at the pool. Because then now you done messed up your whole story. So you had to clean it up. And I think so many people are sticking together to the same story and they talking and they talking and they talking. It's the same thing with the Carmelo Anthony case. So many people there. And anytime these young kids get into something, they grab their phones and they record. And I'm quite sure there's a lot of recording that's out there, video that happened with the Carmelo Anthony situation, but they all stuck together. They even went to the trial and they all had the same story at the trial. They all gave the same testimony. So he didn't have a chance in hell. I think this is a similar case where everybody's from the judge, the sheriff, and everybody having communication with each other to make sure these white boys don't go to jail. But God got the last say. We ain't gonna sit back and let that happen. My voice out with gender. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all make sure y'all like, share, subscribe my video. Leave a comment. My voice out with gender. And always remember, integrity is everything. Either you have it or you don't. I'm out.